Okay, so I think we can begin. First, I want to walk through quickly what we made last time and basically what we missed because we didn't finish everything last time. So I just want to quickly show you the game. And what I just did now was go into full screen. I haven't showed you this yet. This is also something you can do. If you go on the top right here, you see this icon with like 4 arrows. If you click that, right here it's now 4 arrows pointing outwards. This maximizes your game so you have a full screen instead of like the small game on the top right. This is the game that we made last time, or this is how far we got, where we have like a ball that multiplies every 10 seconds in my case, and then you have the cat that has to avoid it. The thing is that we missed last time. Let's see if I can hit one. So when you hit a ball, you lose the game, everything stops. I'm gonna stop my game here. Okay, so apparently I'm not allowed to go a big screen. So I'll keep my game on here in the corner. But what we missed last time was the balls that spawn throughout the game don't, whenever they hit the wall, they are not pointing in a random direction. They always bounce in like in a pattern basically. So if we so to show this, I will just hide my cat as I did last time, just to see the balls bouncing around. And I'm also gonna increase the spawn rate of the balls just during my test. So to hide the cat, you have to select it, and then here above it, there are these 2 eyes where you can hide or show it. And then go into to what we call the enemy. And here I'm gonna set the middle part here. I'm just gonna zoom in because it's a bit small. Here, where it says repeat this code 10 times, and this is where we clone our enemy into multiple clones. So after 50 seconds, you have like 6-7 balls that you have to avoid. So just while I'm testing something, I want to increase the rate so I don't have to wait 10 seconds. So I'm just going to put it down to 2 seconds. And then I'm only going to play my game for a few seconds because of streaming lag. So let's see what happens. So yeah, whenever they hit the wall, I actually know where they are going. And to make this random, like we have with the first ball, we just have to copy the code that we made last time. This is here on the top. So to quickly explain what this is doing. Our first block here on the left, top left, this is just setting the ball starting position. The middle section here is setting the speed for the ball and tells it to bounce whenever it hits the edges. So it says if on edge, it's gonna bounce from it, so like a bouncing ball. And the last block here, what this does is tells it if the enemy is hitting the edge, it's gonna turn to a random number between the numbers 180 to 180. And these numbers might not make sense, but if you actually go down here to the right in the middle, where it says direction, if you click that number, you get a circle. So this is where the numbers come in, where you have the 180 to minus 180. So you can see while I'm dragging the arrow around, you can see the numbers below are changing between these 2 numbers. So this is where we get the random direction. So we simply just duplicate the code like we did last time. So we can reuse some code we already made. And to duplicate, to show you that again, you just have to go to the code block that you want and right click it. Then you have 3 options. We can add a comment if you want that, but we want to duplicate it. That means we get a new session or a new block with everything in it. And simply just duplicate it and put it down here. If you haven't, so I'm just gonna delete it again. What I have here, down here where it says when I start as a clone, That's something we made last time, but we have the third one here that we didn't use. And this was actually to add the random direction to our clones. So I simply just, so if you don't have this block, you can find it in control. The orange one here on the left, the orange color. And it's all the way at the bottom where it says, when I start as a clone. Simply just drag that out here and then duplicate the code. And attach it to it. There we go. Then we actually have all the enemies that spawn in the game are going in random directions, so you have no way of telling where they're going. So this makes it super hard when you actually survive for a long time. The next thing that we didn't make, or we didn't get to, we added the timer that we made from what we call variables. This was something that we can change throughout the game. You can compare it to having a box with something in it, and we can change what's inside that box. We made two of these. One of them was a speed box, holding how fast the enemy is going, and the second one was the time. And you can see that we are using the speed here in the middle one for all our clones. So we are changing the number inside this block while playing the game. This is pretty cool. And where we set the speed is here on the left, where we have this block. So whenever we create a new clone, we are setting the speed for that specific clone to a random between 3 and 8. And we can make this crazy numbers. I'm just gonna show you. 3 and 8 are something like are pretty decent in, but if you actually add 15 to, let's say, 30, I don't think this computer can hold it, but let's see what happens. And you can just see it goes crazy. Like this just makes it like even harder, and this is something you can actually also increase over time. But yeah, this makes it like impossible to actually play. So I'm gonna stop it again and go back to my 3 and 8. But you can play around with it and see what happens. 3 and 8 is pretty good for me. But these variables are something that we're gonna work a lot with also in the future. So it's very important that we try and understand it. What we didn't make for the time variable, I'm just going to show you where you can find these again. And that's on the left here, and it's at the bottom here where it says variables. That's the dark orange or brownish. If you click that, you can see now that we have these variable blocks where we can either set them to something, we can put something in them, or we can change what's inside. This is where it says change and set, and that's changing whatever is in these. So this is basically just two boxes, one holding a time and one holding a speed. But you can see now on the top right here in my game that the game is over. I lost, and but the time is still 44. And if I start the game quickly, it's just gonna keep counting from 44. So we didn't make a reset for the timer whenever we start the game again. So let's just quickly add that to the game. And I want to add it in here. So where we made the code for our time that lets it count up was on the background. So you have seen our code on the player and the enemy. If you click that, you can see these two. But we can also add code to our like backgrounds, what we call scenes. And to find that, that's on the right here where it says stage. And we have this like white background. And if you click that, you actually come into the background code. And if you didn't land here where the code is, you might have landed on the top left here where it says backdrops in here. So simply just go up to the top left and select code. I hope everyone is following, and if it's going too fast, please do let me know. And if you have any questions, Jan is here in the back, ready to answer. And if you have any ideas for what we can make, also bring them into the chat, and we will definitely add it to the game. But yes, let's continue. If you found the time code here on the background, you can see we have this green flag that says we have the forever, which makes it count forever in the game. And then we are changing with this orange block the timer by 1. And then we're gonna wait for 1 second because we don't want to have it count like too fast. We want to count it 1 second at a time, which is why we're waiting 1 second. And this change block can actually be used for all our variables by just clicking the triangle next to it. You can see you can change it into whatever, but we in this case we want to change the timer. Here we also want to reset the timer whenever we start the game. And you know, when we start the game, that's when we hit the green flag, and that's what we have the green flag block for. And to find that, that's under events, the yellow blocks on the left here. If you find that, it should be on the very top here. So we can do this in 2 ways. I like to split it up to have like 2 sections of blocks. It makes it easier for me to read it, and I think it's more nice to work this way. So right now I have 2 of these. One actually being the timer that counts it, and the other one resetting the timer whenever we start the game. So we need another one of these orange blocks that we saw in the variables, because we want to set our timer now. We don't want to change it, we want to set it to 0 whenever we start the game. So you have to find the set block. And you can see here on the left, down in variables, that it says set my variable. But we want it to be set timer instead, because that's what we made. So we can simply just click the arrow, as I mentioned, and then select timer instead. So now it's actually the block that we need. And I see someone already made it, so that's pretty awesome. So yeah, so this is basically just what we missed last time to actually make that lecture complete. Because when I start the game, we have the timer goes down to 0. We have our balls spawning like crazy every 10 seconds. Right now it's every 2 seconds. And we can actually play the game. And I can see I forgot to unhide my cat again, so I'm just gonna show it and quickly show the game. What we will work on today is animations and maybe a bit of sound add to the game. So first we're gonna make some animations that are gonna change the color of the balls. So it will select a random color each time it makes a new clone. And then we also gonna try and add some animations to the cat, so it actually is moving its legs whenever we are moving. But I think we should start by making the animation for the ball. And to do this, we have to select I keep calling it the ball, but we actually called it the enemy because this is the enemy that we have to avoid. So select that, and to change the graphics or of the drawing of it, you have to, instead of being inside the code here, go into what we call costumes on the top left. It's right next to the code. So if you select costumes, you have this drawing board. This was in the first lecture where I made my own enemy. You could also decide to select one that's already made. But in my case, I want to duplicate my ball and just change the color of it. So I don't want to draw it again, because I'm most certain that I can't draw the exact same. So again, we are going to duplicate something that we already made. And you can do this by right-clicking the enemy here. On the top left, you can see it has like this blue thing. And if you right-click it, you have the duplicate option. And it simply just creates a new one. And then selects it, so you can start coloring it. And to make this easier for me, I want to select the what's that called? The fill option here, and then select the color. And to do that, you go up to fill here, and you have these 3 bars that you can move around to get any color that you want. I'm just gonna go with this one first. So yeah, what this can fill option here does is, you can see when I hover my mouse over it, you can see that it tells me what it's gonna color whenever I click it. So I'm just gonna make sure that I don't draw or don't color the black lines, because I want to keep these. So I'm just gonna click, hover and click, and make sure I don't hit the black lines. So now I have a green ball. And I want to make a few more, at least 4, I think, 4 different colors to make this more interesting. So simply, again, duplicates. I'm gonna create 2 more here. So now I have 1 yellow and 3 green. So I want to quickly change the color of these 2, something nice. Purple. And there we go. And the last one should be, let's go with the red. I like red. There we go. So now you can see on the left here, I have 4 costumes of my enemy. And the one that you have selected is actually the one that the first ball will be having, or will have. As you can see, if you look over here on the game, you can see the ball inside the game, like the first one, is changing color depending on which one I select of the costumes. But this doesn't really matter. But I'm just gonna select the yellow one to be the first one. So now we have the costumes, but they're not being used unless we actually select them ourselves. And we can't stop the game and select it. That would be stupid. So let's add some code that can actually make this work for us and have the ball spawn with a random color. So go back to the code here on the top left. And we are actually gonna look here where we have the clone blocks. So I'm removing these. As you know, we split it up in 2 parts here. The top section here with the 3 green flags, that's for the first ball. And the middle section here is for how fast we are spawning our balls. And the bottom section here is for all the clones. And on the left, the leftmost block is where we have all the starting things. We have the size that we made last time, and also which direction and the speed. So here we also gonna add costumes. Which costume is this clone gonna start with? And then we have to go, so to change costumes you have to go into looks. These are the yellow or the purple blocks on the left here, where it says looks. And we have a lot of cool things in here, but it's somewhere in the middle here, where it says switch costume 2, and then it says costume 1. This is the block that you need. So before I'm attaching it, we have to make something, or we can add it directly. But it's not going to work with just this, because if we actually read the block, you can see it says switch costume to costume 1 whenever I start. So it will always pick the yellow color in my case, like the first costume. And if I select it here, if I click it, I can select the other 3 costumes. So to make this random, we have to add a number to it. In my case, so if you made, let's say, 10 costumes, we have to pick a random number again between 1 and 10. So depending on how many costumes you made, you have to say 1 to the amount of costumes. So in my case, it's 1 to 4. And to find the random pick random number, you have to go into operators. That's the green one. Or you can copy it from one of the others that you already used and just change the numbers. But I like to find it here on the left. So simply take this out and then put it inside the purple one here. And make sure it has like this, when you're dragging it over, that it has this white edge. If it doesn't, then it won't attach to the purple block, as you see now. And I'm just gonna, there. So now it's 1 block. But it has the numbers 1 to 10, and I only have 4 costumes. So I'm gonna change the last number to be 4. So let's quickly test our game. It's very important that we keep testing to see what actually happens in our game. And I have my balls to spawn every 2 seconds. Let's see. Yeah, I got a green one and a yellow one. Let's see what happens. Come on. It seems to work. So now we have the balls to be random size, random direction, random speed, and random costumes. I think that's pretty cool that we have like all these random things. The color, you could say, doesn't make the game harder, but it makes it more interesting and cool to look at, because you have like multiple things distracting you. The next thing is the costume for the cat, and we only want the cat to be to be moving or use its animation whenever we are pressing a movement key. So if I'm standing still, the cat should also be standing still. So let's find the costumes for our cat. So if you select the cat, go to the top left and costumes. If you are using the cat or any other player, if you made your own, the cat here is pretty cool because it already has a second costume that it can switch to. So if you made your own player, you would have to make a second costume that actually is a bit different with the legs or whatever it looks like. So you can swap between them all the time to have the animation of moving. But we're using the cat in this case, so follow along for how we actually make the animation work. But you should have it here. And a quick notice is that you can also change the color of the cat, as you see. I can make it like redhead. And I think I'm gonna... And you have to change it for both costumes if you're doing that, else it's not gonna make very much sense. So now it looks like I'm wearing a red helm. Yes. So just making sure that we have two costumes, we have to go back to the code, because now we want to code the animation to make it work. And here for the cat in the middle is where we have all our movement. We have if we are pressing arrow up, we are moving 10 steps forward. We are turning left and right if we press the left and right arrows. So the animation for the cat should only happen whenever we are pressing up arrow, like forward, because we only want it to do the animation when it's moving. Again, since this is animation, we have to go into looks, because that's what we're working on right now. So that's the purple blocks. And in here we want to go to, see, next costume. Yes, and we have the next costume this time. And let's see what happens. So if I'm going up here and adding the next costume, so I want to make sure that I'm adding it inside this up arrow if block that we have, and not inside these turn blocks. So make sure you're inside the one that says up arrow and moving 10 steps forward and not turning. And let's test again. One thing is I have my balls to spawn every 2 seconds. I want to increase this again so I don't get overrun by a lot of these enemies. So I'm going back to my enemy code and going back up to 10 seconds to give me a chance for testing this. And going back and start. Oh, see? So now it looks like I'm actually moving, or running, I should say. So that's actually very simple when you just have another costume for the running. This block, what it does is it's just gonna, whenever you are holding down up arrow, it's gonna move into to the next costume. So that means if it's let's go into the cat costumes again. So let's say costume 1 is the one that it's starting with. So if you're pressing up arrow, it's gonna move to the next costume, which is this one, costume 2. And then it's gonna keep doing this, but if it's at costume 2 and it doesn't have like a number 3, it's gonna just move back to the first one, which is why it's working, because it's just gonna jump back and start over again. So if you start your game, you should have a running cat while moving forward. And it looks crazy when it's running upwards down. Yes, so that's some simple animation and how to use costumes for your player and the enemy. For the enemy, it's not really animation, it's just switching between the costume. Animation is something that like changes in the picture, like with our cat and the feet moving around. Like you see, it's moving like this. And so I think that's for animation for today. So let's see if we can add some quick sounds to the game. We want something like noisy to happen in the game. So let's go back to our code. Right now I'm inside the code for our cat. And to add sounds, you have up here where it says costumes, you have sounds as well on the right. And right now the cat comes with a sound called meow. And if you have headphones, I recommend using headphones for this. You can actually play the sound to hear what it sounds like. The sound is here, but it's not being used before we actually add a block in the code for it. So if you test the sound, let's see what happens. Actually, I can't even hear it, but that doesn't matter. So you should be able to hear this meow sound, and you can do a lot of things with these purple buttons to change it and make it even more loud. You can, with the scissor here, you can clip it. So you can remove some of it if there are only parts of it that you want. And then, let's see here, and then press.
Du skal lige huske at unmute desktop audio over på OBS.
Ah, yes. Let's see here. I think we can. So yeah, for clipping it, you can press the scissor and then save to actually clip it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, so now I have a very short sound that doesn't sound like a meow anymore. But yeah, this is the sound that I'm gonna quickly add to the game. Just to show you how you can add sounds. If you want to add more sounds, or if you have, you can create your own sounds as well. But there are some sounds here in Scratch. If you go down to the bottom left here, where it has the speaker, if you click that, choose a sound, it comes up with a whole bunch of sounds. So you can pick whatever you want and add it to the game. But let me show you quickly how to actually add all these sounds. I'm just gonna pick the one called a bass. So I can show you how to add these. So now I have a meow and a bass sound. So going back to our code for the cat, I want this to play whenever I hit an enemy, or yeah, when I lose the game. So when I hit our enemy, and you have to find our sound blocks here on the left, right underneath looks. It's like this, I don't know, pink, purple, and it has the first one here, where it says play sound and then meow, and then until done. This will play the sound one time, and that's it. If you, however, take the other sound or the other block that's below, it will keep playing. But we only want to play this once. So I'm gonna pick the first one here and add it to the third section here, where we are saying if we are touching our enemy, we are stopping all, and that's when we have the game over function, where we stop the game. So before we actually stop the game, we want to play this sound. But in my case, I don't want to play the meow sound that I have. I want to play the bass sound that I just added. And to switch between the sounds that you have available, you just click the name here, and you should be able to select it. And here you also have the option to actually record your own sounds if you have a microphone. So you can make your own game sounds and make it even more fun that way. But in my case, I'm just gonna use the bass sound. So let's see if, let's start the game, and let's see if I can actually quickly, oh, it's crashing. No. Is it? Oh, there we go. Yes. So it plays the sound whenever I'm hitting our enemy, and it only plays it once, and then it stops the game. So this is how you can add sounds, and you can add it to everything. This was just when we actually lose the game. You can let's try and add a meow sound to whenever we turn. This will also make it sound really, really weird. So whenever we hit the left arrow, in my case, it's gonna play the meow sound that I made. Let's see here. I can't hear it myself, but you should be able to hear it. My game is not running that well. So yes, that's more on creating sounds. I can quickly show you how you create your own sounds. If you select it here and then say a bass, or no wait, where it says record and then 3 dots. If you click that, then it allows you to, it pops up with this new screen where you can say record. If you click this button, it will start record whatever you are saying, and then you can see it evolves throughout this, and then you stop, and then now I have like 4 seconds of me speaking, and before you save it, you can cut it if there are parts of it that you want to remove with these 2 lines, or if you're not happy with it, you can re-record it by pressing the button down to the left. If you are happy, you can even play the sound just to hear it again. But when you are happy, you can just press save. And now I have a recording 1 sound. You can see it here in sounds. It has the name recording 1, but it's a good idea if you make your own sounds to actually name them what they are being used for or what they are. In my case, it's Daniel speaking. So now I know this is just me speaking for a few seconds and then remove. So now you can see. So if I quickly go into the code again, I can, when we lose the game here where I added the bass, now I have my Daniel speaking sound that I can actually choose. So yeah, that's how you add sounds to basically everything. You could also add a weird sound to whenever we are cloning a ball. So whenever a new ball is being spawned, you can make a sound for it, so you alert the player for when a new ball is coming. Let's quickly add that as well. I think that's gonna be awesome. So you can add it on top here, as you can see, or you can add it below. It doesn't matter. Let's see. It has a pop sound. So what you see now is I only have like the pop sound that I can choose. And let's go into sounds on our enemy to see. Okay, so it has this pop. I want to add my sound. Wait, going back. Yes. So if you go down here to the left, you can choose a sound, and you can again record, or you can upload a sound. If we choose a sound, I'm not even sure where my sound is. Oh, we click the button. What do you mean? What button? Yes. So I think that's it for the session today. So we went quickly over animations and how you can change the things that you have. Just to quickly show you, in our case we started out with the cat, but if you added something else, if you go down to the bottom right, choose a sprite where it says, if you have chosen any of these, let's say an apple, and if the apple was your player, you can also go into costumes on that one and change it. So we can make it like a let's say a blue apple. So you can change up the things that you already have pretty easily by just going into costumes, and we can duplicate it. The duplicate function is really nice for quickly making something. and reusing whatever you already have, basically. So we can add like multiple apples. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I hope everyone was able to follow. And if you have any questions that you didn't ask for this, you can post a comment, give us a like, and subscribe to the channel. And we will start again same time next week, where we will go into completing this game. This will be the last lecture for this game, but after that we will start